This year, I am turning 35 years old. And I know that that doesn't seem like it could be possible because I don't look a day over 25, but it is real. So, for what feels like a pretty huge milestone, I want to take on a really big and challenging project. So, my goal for this birthday is I want to make my entire outfit from head to toe. So, that's dress, shoes, accessories, the purse, everything. And I've already picked out the pattern that I want to use for the dress that I'm going to be making. So I'm going to be using the Roberts Wood Infinity Ruffle Dress. I found out about this brand through With Wendy. She has an amazing channel if you like sewing content, which you probably do if you're here. Definitely check out her channel because it is really, really awesome. I'm going to be making the dress out of 2 different tones of fabric, and then I haven't quite decided what I want to do for the accessories yet, so I figured we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. So let's dive right into what I'm sure is going to be a huge project. Okay, so because I'm using 2 different kinds of fabric for this project, I am going to split this up by the ruffles and I'm calling them scallops. I don't really know what else to call them, but like these shapes. I'm going to do out of the lighter, like, this is called beige pink. So I think like the warp or the weft is beige and then the other one is pink. And that's what gives it this really soft pinky beige color. So I'm going to do that for the scallops and then we'll do this more fuchsia color for the ruffles. I am going to start, I need to cut out 9 pieces of each of these, or actually I'm not 100% sure on the ruffles. I need to read more about that, but I need to cut out 9 of each of these scallopy pieces because essentially the way this pattern works is it's by what they call repeats, which you sew this from the hem going up and there's pieces going all the way up, and then to have it fit around you, you determine how many times you want to repeat all those pieces going around from the bottom up. And so you take your measurements and then they have like a little size guide, but you can make it however you want. So the size guide recommends for my range 8 repeats, but you can do another one to make it fuller. So I'm kind of at the top of the range for 8 repeats. So I'm gonna do 9. So I'm gonna cut out 9 of each of these. So let's go ahead and get this stuff cut out and see what we come up with. Because I need so many of each piece to make my life a little bit easier for myself, I folded the fabric in a way that would allow me to cut out 4 pieces each time. That way I really only have to cut out each piece twice, but then also a third time just to get that last one. So the first 2 cuts get me 8, and then one more gets me 9 for each piece. And after doing some math that they include for you in the pattern instructions, I need 18 of the chest ruffles, which are going to be the smallest that go along the chest band, 45 of the short ones, 36 of the medium, and then 18 of the long ruffles. And for the ruffles, I found that the easiest way to do this was to trace out each piece, again, folding the fabric so that it would get me 4 for each cut. So I traced out the different pieces, that way I can cut them all at one time instead of having to trace, cut, trace, cut, trace, cut. All right, y'all, let's talk. I've run into a pretty big hiccup here. So I was just like cutting everything out, getting everything prepped, and like the ruffles, you have to cut so many of them. I start cutting out all the ruffles, things are going well. And then it gets time to cut the short ruffles, which is again, the one I need the most number of. I need 45 of those. And I'm looking at the amount of fabric I have left and I'm like, there's just no way. So I cut out as many as I possibly could, and I did run out of fabric, which I was like, okay, I'll just order more. I need at least 2 more yards. So if you decide to do this pattern, just know that you will need, I'm going to say 14 yards of fabric. That's what I would if I were going to do this again, I'd order 14 yards of fabric because 11 was just really not enough. Anyway, so go to order the fabric and it is out of stock on the website because I bought this fabric back in January because I knew I wanted to do this big project for my birthday and I was like, I don't want to wait till the last minute. I'm going to get everything planned out so that I can just start sewing and trying to make things easier for myself. So that color is completely sold out on the website. I then went on a very wild goose chase to try and find something similar, but y'all know that it is almost impossible to be matching colors, especially this is 100% silk fabric. I'm just like, how am I going to find a similar color? And then I was like, well, what if I got a different color and just like creatively mixed it in a way that was cool and interesting? And so I did, after searching and searching and searching, I found a fabric that, fingers crossed, is going to be the same color. It's not the same style of fabric though. It's still 100% silk, but it is a crepe de chine instead of a dupioni. It's flowier than the dupioni, but I have a couple of ideas on how I can try to match the texture. So it's ordered. I ordered 4 more yards just to be safe. I have a little pile of scraps here. I'm going to try and put some things together and just get like a couple more ruffles out of it. That's what's going on with that. So, but we're not going to stop working. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to start just hemming all of the ruffle pieces because that's going to take 500 million years. So I'm going to start that, learn from my mistakes, I guess. But let's go ahead and start hemming these ruffles. To prep the ruffles to actually go onto the dress, I started by folding over the straight edge 1/4 inch and pressing that down, and then folding it over another 1/4 inch and pressing that down again. I then just did a straight stitch along that new hemline and then basted along the curve edge. That way I can gather it to attach it to the scallop pieces. Okay, I look terrible, but I had to check in with y'all right now at this moment in time. So I've been working away on prepping the ruffles, but I just picked up the replacement fabric for the fabric that I ran out of. I haven't looked at it yet. We're gonna do it together here on camera. We've got the package here. I opened it up, but I haven't looked at it. Let's see if it's at least a color. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be close enough. Okay, looking promising. Looking promising. Oh my God. Okay, it is a color match. It is the same color. Thank God. I have some ideas for, you see how this is like a little bit more, it's not quite as flowy as I was kind of prepping myself for. It's a little bit more firm, but this is a little bit more of a firmer fabric as far as like how it will drape. So I have some ideas for how to just give this a little bit more stiffness, but I'm just so unbelievably relieved that it's a color match. So now that I know that we're all set, I can cut out what I need from this and then prep the last size. And then I can actually start putting everything together, which I purposefully picked this pattern because I knew it was going to be challenging, but it's like 200 pieces. And I'm officially at the 3-week mark for when this needs to be done. So I've got 3 weeks. It is what it is. This is the challenge that I've set for myself. So really relieved. Let's keep working on these ruffles. Now that the new fabric is here, I'm using all the same prep steps that I did before with the same sort of tracing method and cutting everything out all at once. The only thing I'm going to do differently here is because this fabric is a little bit softer and more slinky than the dupioni, is I'm going to use spray starch just to give it a little bit more body and thickness. And this is just a very simple spray starch. You spray it on and then iron it, and it gives it a really nice body. Okay, so I think I have my ruffles pretty much completely done. The only thing I still need to do is for the small ones, I just need to baste the curved edge so that I can then gather them and put them onto the scallop pieces. So I'm gonna do that real quick, knock that out. That shouldn't take too long. And then we can actually start putting this thing together. So the way that this works is that you start on the bottom and you work your way up. So I'm gonna have to read the instructions again, but I think what we do is basically you make one row and then another, up and up and up. I'm just gonna try and keep this really, really organized. Because of the nature of the types of pieces, it's pretty quick to sew because you can like get into a flow of what you're working on at that time. So I might eat those words, but right now I'm thinking that we can get into a flow and really figure it out, keep it all organized so that I know exactly what's going with what. We're ready to rock and roll. I will check in with y'all if anything comes up, but we're just gonna keep plugging along here. Now that all the ruffle pieces are complete, I can now start putting them onto the scallop pieces. So I started by pinning the outsides of the ruffles to the outside edge of the scallop and then also in the center, and sort of manipulated the fabric to make it fit perfectly along the outside edge of the scallop, and then just sewed it with a straight stitch. And because this dress is built from the hem upward, I'm going to start with the first two layers that use all of the long ruffles. Okay, so I've just been kind of plugging away here. I sewed together the first layer and then most of the second layer is put in. And then I prepped the third layer last night, just like got the ruffles pinned. They still need to be sewn. And yeah, this is just taking so long. So just a piece of advice if you're going to do this is that once you get past the first row, every other scallop has to be put in like a sleeve is put in. That's the best way I can describe it as far as like the type of sewing that it is. So it's like a dress, but also 100 armholes. It's not the easiest sewing in the world. It's very, you just have to know how to handle it. Like I have to keep how would I describe? I have to keep the place where the scallop is going in completely folded over to keep it smooth. And it's very, very easy for the fabric to get caught and to get caught up in the machine and be like folded and ripply. So I think I have figured out a way to do it a little bit more smoothly. I don't know if y'all noticed in this video, if you watch some of my other ones, I did get a new sewing machine. So now I have a Bernina instead of my Singer, and you can take the back compartment off and the little arm is much smaller than my Singer was. So I'm kind of using that to my advantage to almost like wrap the fabric around it while it goes through the machine. And I think that's working. So I'm just gonna keep plugging along here. I'm going to go ahead and say now, I'm probably going to spend 50 to 60 hours on this. Just because the sewing itself is not challenging sewing, it's just so much of it. Anytime I think I might be making some kind of progress, I'm like, girl, you still have so much more to do. I know it's going to look good. It'll be worth it. It's just like the amount of time it's going to take is just mind-boggling, but let's keep going. And now that all the long and the medium ruffles have all been used up, it's time to move on to all the scallop pieces that use the short ruffles. And I will say that as you move up this garment, because the pieces do get smaller, the process is the same, but the sewing does get just a little bit more challenging because that curve gets a little bit more exaggerated. So just really take your time and be patient because every single layer is going to be a little bit different. Y'all, I did it. I finished the dress. This looks like a nondescript pile of fabric right now, but this is the finished dress, and my God, I am never making this again. This one nearly put me over the edge. I had multiple crash outs about this dress. Like, first and foremost, with me running out of the fabric, that was already stressful. And then this just took so long to make. Today is Tuesday. My birthday is on Friday, and then my birthday party, which is what all this is for, is on Saturday. So we're 3 days away from my birthday, and I know when I originally set out in this video, I wanted to make the dress, a purse, and a pair of shoes. And I'm going to be really honest with y'all, that's just not going to happen. So I am still going to make a pair of shoes. That I can do in a reasonable amount of time, but I can't do both things. This is supposed to be fun, and it's not fun. So I have other bags that I've already made, so it'll still be something that I made. It's just not something that I made specifically for this event, which is totally fine. I'm still going to make the shoes. I'm going to start that now, actually. So I need to start by making the pattern. So this should be pretty simple. I'm just making like not flats, but just a really basic slip-on heel, just a little block heel. Let's go ahead and dive into the shoe making process. To start making my shoe pattern, I'm going to cover just the front part of my last with some masking tape, and I'm doing a pretty simple design, so I don't need to cover a ton of the last, but just enough to sketch out my design. Once the masking tape is on, I then sketch out my shape, and I always use a pencil for this, that way I can erase and redraw as many times as I need to get it perfect. And you only need to do this on one shoe, because when you go to cut it out, you can just flip the pattern piece over and it will make a mirror image of what you draw. Once I'm happy with my shape, I then carefully cut it out and put it down onto a piece of paper and add my allowances so that I can then actually last this piece onto the shoe. And I want to do a square toe for this shoe, so what that means is I need to cut the sole board. So I'm just measuring to the very tip of that last and then kind of blending that together to give it a square shape at the end. And now that the suede pieces for the sole are cut out, I can then glue them straight onto the sole board. And because these shoes are so simple, then lasting them is much more simple, so I'm just using my fingers to kind of wrap the leather around the sole board, pulling where I need to make sure that I am decreasing the amount of wrinkles that are in the leather. But this is much easier than doing it for like sneakers or something like that. I don't even need tools. And to finish the shoe upper, I'm applying glue to the bottom of the sole board, and then I'll also apply glue just to the outside edges of the top piece. And then again, I can just use my fingers to pull that around and last that to the actual sole board. Okay, so it is the night of my birthday party, and the dress is done, shoes are done. Every single thing I'm wearing on my body right now was made by me. And although I did set out to make a purse specifically for this occasion, that did not happen. It's okay. I'm going to give myself grace on it. I'm really happy with everything that I made. The symbolicness of everything that I'm wearing being something that I made is just, it's really special to me, because this is what I've dreamed of doing my entire life since I was a child, is being able to make things that you can wear. And it's just crazy that now I can do those things. This particular pattern, I've said from the beginning that I was looking for a challenge, so I definitely got that. I probably would never make this dress again just because it just takes way too long. That being said, it is a really cool pattern. So if you have the desire to just work for hours and hours and hours at something, go for it. I'm happy with it, and I'm so glad that it's not like constricting, and I feel very, very comfortable. This is a very different style than I would normally wear. Normally I wear things that are much more like revealing of the body, and this is just literally like, I look like a cupcake. But that's kind of the fun of it. It's very different than what I normally do. So, we ran out of the original fabric, and you can't really tell. So that's really nice that it's just kind of all blends in. And honestly, if someone does notice, they're standing too close to me. Also, the shoes, I'm going to give them a B. Here's the thing that's tough about heels that I'm still learning, and this is only my third pair that I've made, so I just need to keep making them and trying. Because when you're making sneakers, even though a sneaker is a much more difficult shoe to make, like there's no doubt about that, it's more difficult to make, but you can kind of hide your mistakes a little bit more versus like these flats. If you make a mistake on the lasting, there's nowhere to hide it. So it's just, you can see it and it's visible. So, I just want to keep getting better at lasting those boards, because it's just very, very precision. You have to be precise or it will show. But I will say, the last 2 times I made heels, they were some of the most uncomfortable shoes on the planet Earth. And so I set out to make these more comfortable by using foam on the inside. And these are so much more comfortable. Will they make it through the night? Who's to say? But right now they feel comfortable to walk in and they're okay. The only thing for the shoe is that I wish that I would have lasted them on my foot instead of lasting them on the last. So because these they're completely open, it's just like the strap that goes across the front of the foot. You can technically just put your foot on the sole board and then just last that piece right onto your foot. I think that would have made these fit a little bit better as far as like how they contour to my foot, because the last is shaped like a shoe. It's not shaped like a foot. So that's the only other thing that I wish I would have done a little bit differently. I'm about to go out with my friends and have fun and go to a drag show, of course, because it's my birthday, and what else would I be doing on my birthday? So thank y'all so much for watching this video, and the fact that I'm like making these things and being able to make these videos, and it's meaningful to me. If this is the only video you ever watch of mine, thank you, I appreciate it. So if you have any questions about the projects that I made, or if you have questions about anything related to the techniques I used, anything like that, feel free to leave a comment, and I will see y'all on the next one. Bye.